Welcome back to Track 4. This is week 3, and we're going to talk about meetings. When involved in groups, ministries, and organizational leadership, I have often felt that meetings are tedious, redundant, and more often than not, extremely boring. I've always understood the need for meetings, so I don't want to use the word pointless, but rarely have I enjoyed participating in meetings at any level. In thinking this over, I find that this generally happens when meetings are held for the sake of meeting. Gratuitous meetings, if you will. Hosting effective meetings is essential to the team building process. It's the most effective way to get a group of people on the same page and moving forward in the same direction very quickly. And if this is true, and if meetings are dreadful rather than exciting, then it might be time to reevaluate what the meeting is for and why meetings are worth having. At our church, it seems like the majority of my time is filled with meetings. I meet with the leadership team once a week. I meet with my staff once a week. The church council once a month. We host a pre-service meeting huddle before our Sunday gatherings, not to mention the countless other one-on-ones that happen on a daily basis over coffee or in the office. It seems that the higher you get up in leadership, the less you actually do yourself, and the more you meet with others to make sure that they're well equipped to do what needs to be done. So today, let's look at the 5 benefits of holding an effective meeting. Number 1, an effective meeting promotes engagement. I've said this before, but when you're a high-producing type, the tendency is to do all of the work yourself because you know that it's going to be done and that it's going to be done well. This mode of operation, though, is extremely limiting as you're only one person and you can only do so much. It's also limiting in that when others see you doing everything yourself, they're generally going to be less likely to get involved in your projects because they won't see the opportunities to help or to serve or to contribute in any way. Effective meetings promote engagement. They get others involved, not in a token way, but by actually valuing the voices in the group. Effective meetings encourage collaboration. And when others feel engaged in the process, it provides everyone with a sense of purpose and ownership because it's not your idea that they're getting involved in, it's our collective idea. This can create momentum and increase accountability in the long run. Number 2, effective meetings further relationships. As we're learning about from Pastor Terry in this track, relationships are important, even essential to our health and development. We've been created for connection, and putting out a product or executing deliverables can never be our end goal. In the end, Jesus gives us the goals of reaching the world and making disciples. Both of these are relationally focused. When we were restructuring our leadership team at the church, the first few months of meetings were all relationship focused. We played games, did puzzles, got to know each other, and we ate together a lot. Now when we meet, the relationships are nurtured and furthered. It's often difficult to pull everybody in because the conversations going on are so good. And don't think that having an agenda will hamper relationships. Once they're established, meeting and working together only enhances relationships. Number 3, effective meetings resolve conflict. Problem and issues are inevitable within a team. Friction's gonna happen, and it can negatively affect the way that each team member interacts and operates. Effective meetings can be a venue for team members to share issues and for the input of the team to collectively bring resolve. When conflict is tucked away, when issues go unspoken, a root of bitterness can take hold, which can lead to toxic thoughts, which leads to toxic words, which leads to toxic interactions. For the most part, problems are best aired out and resolved quickly so that bitterness doesn't even have a chance to take root. Meetings, when properly managed, are a great place to air out grievances and find resolutions. Once a resolution is reached, team members then can apply it to other similar situations so that they avoid repeating those problems again and again. Number 4, effective meetings boost creativity. It's very easy to run with a first thought or a first idea, but generally speaking, our first thoughts and ideas are not all that creative. This is true when trying to come up with something new or finding a solution to an existing problem. Rewrites and drafts are a necessary part of the creative process because they help us come to better and more unique decisions. When you add in additional voices with different perspectives, the ability to solve problems and think creatively becomes exponentially greater because others will not see the situation in the same light that you do. They won't view things the same. Effective meetings will help you see a greater picture that would otherwise be in your blind spot. Number 5, effective meetings reinforce culture. Effective meetings can be carriers of organizational culture. I believe in modern leadership, culture is going to trump vision in pretty much every way, every day. People today care more about the culture that we bleed rather than the visions that we see. When meetings become demonstrably more effective, they spread like a virus of energy and optimism across multiple dimensions of an organization. This can and should be used to carry the values and cultures that we desire to every aspect of our teams. We can also use these opportunities to establish and live out the values and the cultures that we want others to emulate. So effective meetings reinforce culture. Now, this is all well and good, but there's some practical sides to having a meeting. So let me give you 3 tips to host a more effective meeting. Number 1, plan ahead. You may remember a few tracks back, I said preparation, preparation, preparation. I am a believer in preparation. You can never be too prepared. Good leaders know what they want to accomplish in a meeting, and they plan how that can be accomplished through a meeting. Clearly laying out an agenda for those in attendance is also very helpful in keeping track of everyone. So when you're having a meeting, plan ahead. Number 2, keep it short. We live in a culture that is overbooked and far too busy. People simply don't have the time these days, and even if they did, they probably don't have the attention span. Right or wrong, this is true for most people. Many ministries and nonprofits are reliant on a volunteer labor force. And if it's true that most people's attention span is shorter than that of a goldfish, then they simply don't have it in them for long, drawn-out meetings. All of this should be considered when holding a meeting. Keep it simple, keep it short, leave your team with a tangible task, and leave them wanting more. And lastly, number 3, tip is how to practically host a meeting is do follow-up. This is where I often fall short. I can make the excuse that I just trust my team members so much that I don't follow up with them. But realistically, I often overlook this crucial step because I'm always looking ahead to the next step or the next project when I should be able to follow up based on what we're actually working on. Follow-up is key. Every meeting should include a look back at what plan of action was to be taken, and an honest evaluation should be made of whether or not that action was taken, and if it was taken, was it done well, what could be done better, and what shouldn't have been done at all. Follow-up is not only for group meeting times, but should also be done on an individual basis with your team members after you hosted the meeting. Hold them accountable to reaching goals and accomplishing tasks that they have taken responsibility for. In the end, it'll make them more productive, which will lead them to contribute more, which will lead to greater buy-in and eventually multiplication of leadership. So follow up after your meetings. I hope this has been helpful in detailing why meetings and gatherings are a necessary part of team building, and I hope you incorporate some of these ideas into the teams that you're currently leading or are establishing for your startup.